The 4x4 Podcast, episode 132.
You're listening to the 4x4 Podcast, the podcast all about four-wheeling, overlanding, off-road racing, and the outdoor lifestyle. We talk about news, tips and tricks, answer your questions, and interview big and little names in the off-roading world. So whether your rig is busted and you're in the shop wrenching on it, or you're on your way to the trail, join us and we'll keep you plugged in on topics to help you get away. Here are your hosts, Dan, Craig, and Rich.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, just fine.
So it's funny here. I see, if we did have video going, we would see that, Rich, you are sitting outside, either keeping the Ram company or just trying not to sweat your brains off inside the house.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. It is currently 94 degrees inside my house. The AC went out yesterday. Of course, it's a weekend, so you can't get anybody to come out to fix it. So, but it is insanely nice out here. It's like 84 degrees outside. So I think I'm gonna start recording outside all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the cicadas have quieted down. So
they have.
They must have gone to sleep. Oh, well, and Craig has broken the microphone so we can't hear him. But so I just recently got back from a trip down to San Diego, and I was hoping to go explore some areas down there. But it was a trip down to do SeaWorld, so no off-roading for me.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. There's a lot down there, but Craig, we'll start off with you. What have you been up to lately? I saw you posted some pictures there.
Yeah, I decided to see if I could get some 4x4 related stuff at a hot rod show. And I went to the I went to the Good Guys Hot Rod and show in Livermore, California yesterday. And I posted the pictures on Facebook, and I actually found some pretty cool old 4x4s, some old Broncos, some old Jeeps, a really, really stock Jeepster.
That's the one that caught my eye.
Yeah, that old style Jeepster. That thing is clean, and it is all original. Every piece on that vehicle is original.
That's impressive.
And nice and clean. And then I think I found another Jeepster, two Broncos. I found a Scout, an International Scout, but he was actually driving through, and when I tried to take the picture,
did a piece of rust fall off from the sound of the snap?
No.
Picture snap?
No, it was kind of funny. Is just as I'm trying to take the picture of this International, they come over the microphone and say, we want to honor our military service people here today. And he goes through a whole spiel, and then they start playing the national anthem. So I have to put my camera down. I put my phone down, take my hat off, and wait for that. I'm going to do that. And I did. And he stopped his truck. He took his hat off. He waited too. And then when it was done, he pulled away, and I couldn't get the camera back out fast enough to take the picture of it. So I let it go. But I did find some interesting pieces in, when you go into the vendors. I actually found two very interesting things in the vendor area. One was for campers and hikers, not just off-roaders, but a chair that actually folds up into a backpack. Huh. And it was really cool because the guy showed it to me. They actually fold out. He's the one that builds them. He actually manufactures them. They fold up, and it looks pretty much like an iPhone standing on end, but it's square. But it folds out, and it actually has an overhang, a shade. It comes over the top, which is the back part where that holds the straps. actually goes over the top of the chair and acts like a shade. And you can get a footrest in it, which folds up in it all nice, and it's really light, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Hopefully, I asked him to email me a little bit more information, and maybe we could get him and talk to him about that chair, which I thought was pretty damn cool.
So,
and
I'm looking at your pictures here, and first off, that Willie's Overland Jeepster is, man, that's a work of art. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's insanely nice.
Yeah, when I saw it, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't think anybody would spend that much time and that much effort on that thing, but I'm glad he did, because that was just gorgeous.
That is.
I'm not a Jeepster, but the funny thing is, it's a Jeepster Overland. If you look at one of the pictures is of the rear bumper.
Yeah, it's made by Willie's Overland.
So I thought that was kind of cool. I said, well, I think Dan will get a kick out of this. I got to take a picture of it.
So one of my friends, when I was back living in Texas, he was like he must have had 5 or 6 of these sitting around the side of his house, and they were all in various states of being either pulled apart or, I don't know, I think they were all donors for a single Jeepster. I don't know if he ever did finish putting one together, but I always said that I would like to take one of them off his hands, at least the body, and swap it onto something, because it's really just a really good-looking vehicle. But also, I see here that there is a Jeep TJ. It looks like it is bedlined by a bullet liner, and I had never heard of this until I started looking at bed liners for my wife's truck. So it's, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you got your actual hands on it, but bullet liner is a pretty close cousin to Line-X. It's not like that harder epoxy type like Monster Line or something like that. It stays kind of soft.
They're like twin brothers almost.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit stronger. The guy said it was real easy to spray on, and he goes, you can pressure wash it all damn day and it won't come off.
Yeah.
Stronger than Line-X?
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and so it's actually cheaper, because I priced out both.
Yeah.
And it was more than $100 cheaper just to do the bed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that bullet liner whenever. I mean, unfortunately, where I'm living, there's not like any place just down the street. It's a deliberate effort to get down there and kind of make an appointment and get it done. So, but bullet liner is what I'm going with.
It's not like you're in Alaska or anything.
I know. I'm just as remote, just a lot hotter.
And one of the other vendors I ran across was a medical air flight for off-roaders, for people that like to go out in the outback or, out where there aren't any people. You can actually buy an insurance that gets you into a situation where if you're injured and you're hurt and you need to be air flighted out, you get insurance for it, and you're covered. And the and one of the other is let's say you're in Moab, even though you're in town and you're in Moab, but you need to get flown back to California for medical treatment. You're covered under this plan. So it's kind of a double coverage kind of a thing. And the lady was really nice. I gave her my card. I told her to email me, and I want to talk to her a little bit more about it, which I think it'll be interesting. I'd like to get her on and have her, let's do an interview with her and let her explain it better than I could. Let's put it that way. But I thought it was really interesting.
These have been around for a little while. They're real popular with, I know, with hikers and like backcountry skiers. And that's, I think the first time I heard about it was a couple decades ago, but, or maybe about 15 years ago. But yeah, it's nice to see they're moving into like the off-road community too.
So it's a special insurance policy that just covers like a life flight type of situation?
Yes.
Well, your extraction and everything, yeah.
Pretty much. You call them and say, hey, I'm injured and I'm here, and I need air flight out. Or the air flight. I would have to assume is if you call for help, maybe, like I said, I want to get her in so I have a bunch of questions I wanted to ask her and I didn't get to ask her because I was trying to get the whole show in. But I would think that it would be one of those incidents where if you get air flighted out, you're able to use that insurance to pay for it instead of it coming out of your pocket or your insurance, or
See, I always thought that
some insurance companies aren't going to cover that.
Yeah, I always assumed that kind of thing would just be rolled into the medical insurance. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah,
Rich, you'd be able to fill us in a little better. Is the ride in the ambulance a separate line item on the insurance?
It is, and it's not always covered. Usually it's covered, but not always. It all depends on your insurance and what's wrong with you. So you'd be surprised the number of people that take ambulances that don't need ambulances. Well,
oh no,
your insurance may not cover your ambulance ride for your stub toe.
Yeah. Interesting.
You got a hangnail. You took an ambulance. You're paying for it yourself. You're not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it varies. It varies with insurance companies, and check your policies.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And so, there's lots of interesting things regarding insurance, and maybe we should do that as a separate show all in itself, and like how to insurance the things that we take out into the backcountry.
Exactly, definitely,
because that would really kind of influence it should influence somebody's driving style and how it is obviously you're probably going to pay a larger premium to insure something with a bunch of expensive bits bolted onto it or welded onto it. But if you want it to be reimbursed or covered, that's probably something you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah, and that also, talk about your automotive policies too. Your policies may or may not cover you when you're off-road, so you have to check your policies regarding that too.
Yeah. Well, Rich, I know last time we talked, you were getting ready for a trip coming up. I see you got some new mapping bits.
Yeah, I talked about it, the Colorado backcountry discovery route, and I got my Butler maps in today. These maps they've got a whole map series just designated to their backcountry discovery routes, and there's several different regions. There's California and Arizona, Mid-Atlantic. I think there's about 6 or 7 different backcountry discovery routes that you can take. And they've also got maps for paved roads too, for motorcycles and stuff. They're geared towards motorcycles, but like I was saying, a lot of the backcountry discovery routes can be driven by 4-wheel drive as well. But yeah, it's an awesome map. It's at butlermaps.com. And it folds out like your standard street map, so one side has got a big, the one I have is a big coverage of the whole state of Colorado with the route mapped out. And then you turn it over, and what they've done is they've broken it up into sections. So the Colorado route is broken up into 6 sections, starting from the Four Corners, going on up to Wyoming. And it will tell you how many miles each section is, your altitude, your elevation gains and losses for that day, and roughly how long it will take you. But it also gives you stuff to watch out for. It'll note if one route is more difficult than another. There's an easier route that you might be able to take if you're not ready for that more expert level route. And then it also will spell out where your fuel stops are, so you can figure out your range. Then it also gives you all different little tips and tricks for each section too, about like what time of year to go, what time you want to get started. That way you'll avoid the tourist traffic over more popular passes like Imaging or something like that. So I was real impressed with the map, and it was cheap. It was like $14. So
Yeah, so I'm looking at the butlermaps.com website right now, and I don't know how I have never known about this, but they've got some pretty awesome bundles put together here.
Yeah, they
Do
do.
they have any download? Do they have anything for download?
So you can actually download the GPX file for, and like I downloaded for the Colorado routes. I've already got it downloaded, and it was a free download. So,
Okay,
but yeah, they're actual.
That's cool.
The Colorado, yeah, but that's not associated with Butler. That's if you go to the Colorado Backcountry Discovery Route, which is a separate website, it'll give you a free download and also more tips.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the Butler specifically. Does that do download? Does that have a download or no? Or is it just a paper map?
I think it's just paper. Yeah.
Well,
now there is an app.
I don't think it is, because there's maybe
Well, there is.
but they've got like map
Well,
bundles that include DVDs and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, there is an app that I use called Rever. It's Rever, and it's basically a map routing that I use for motorcycles. But when you pay for their premium service, I think it's $60 a year. It includes the Butler maps, the downloads, so you can actually download those into the Rever app.
Oh, nice. Well, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna not look at this now because I will fall into a major time sink.
Yes, you will.
Like we did earlier.
Man.
Off onto. Okay, wait here. Oh no, wait here. Oh, wait here.
And
Hey,
you can
wanted to
buy
start
them
at
on
this-
Amazon too. Like for example, I didn't go to Butler Maps. I bought them from Butler's store on Amazon. That way, I could use the 4x4 podcast link.
Yeah. The 4x4podcast.com/Amazon. And you know, just to be sure, because I know there's a lot of folks out there that want to support the show, I'm going to put a link on the website and also the show notes and everywhere. So if you go to the 4x4podcast.com, just click on that Amazon link just to be sure, because there's been some wonky stuff going on in terms of how that's working. So just go to the website, hit the button, and shop like you normally would. But yeah, speaking of buying stuff, I've been looking at buying a awning to put on my work truck, the Humvee. Problem is, every awning that I have found has a black cover on it, and I could spend that $200 and some to get a pre-made awning and then just spray paint it, rattle can tan or sand color. Or I thought, this is something that I am sure is going to be destroyed at least once, based on the types of terrain and everything that I experience out here in the desert, or I could make it myself. And so I went ahead and ordered one of those solar shades. It's like you would find covering a patio, and pieced together some pieces of conduit and bolts and built an awning myself that kind of unfolds the same way as a regular awning. And I did it for well under $100. I think the awning material was $25, and then all the conduit and the hardware and even some spray paint to cover up that silver conduit tubing. That came in at like $50. So maybe for $70 I've got this awning completely built. So I'm looking forward to using that. And I started recording a couple videos, and naturally I didn't start building this until it was getting dark. So my videos kind of stopped. I finished building it with a headlamp on, and I'll put it on the truck this week, and I'll go back and record some videos to finish up and share that once I get it put together. But I know I got some comments. I just posted a picture of the shopping list itself on Instagram, and there were quite a few comments, and it seems like there's some interest in building your own awning. But I will be the first to tell you, this is not a professional finished looking product like I would expect from my CVT awning. But it is kind of a nice thing that I know I'm going to enjoy in those long hours sitting in the scorching Mojave sun.
Yeah, I saw your list on Instagram, and in my mind, I'm trying to piece together how you're going to fabricate this awning with those items. So I'm anxious to see your finished product, to see how it relates to what I envision in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
What's
this
the
is
square footage?
so once it's all finished, it's 8 foot by 8 foot because it's it's 8 foot wide, and for the legs to be able to swing back in, they're not adjustable like my CVT awning supports are. So it stands out 6'5" above my head and 8 foot by 8 foot square, and I can angle the legs to kind of position the angle of the shade if I want it pointing down more towards the ground, but it does not have the adjustability. It is not going to keep the rain out. Fortunately, I don't have to worry too much about the rain here. This is just to keep the sun out. Yeah, well, even when it does rain, I don't think I'm going to have to worry too much about getting out of the rain. I've got this pretty awesome rain gear that I carry with me on these types of things.
So which side are you hanging it on the Humvee? The passenger or driver?
The driver's side. So that way, because I find myself sitting in the truck doing meetings over the radio, like FM communications for these meetings, and that way I can put that shade out, and if the sun is coming in from the side, depending on how I park, then I should be able to enjoy a little bit more shade.
How you park? Okay, aren't you kind of high up there enough to where you got somebody driving you around?
No. In my job, there's nobody driving me around. Also, even when I have had people driving me, I have been known to kick them out of the driver's seat and take over myself.
You're not doing it right. Get out of the way.
Yeah. No, that's one of the great things about the job that I have now is that there's a lot of freedom to maneuver around on my own. I don't have to babysit anybody, and I don't have to be babysat. So, even at nighttime, that's the fun part. Cruising around at night.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that on, and I will post that to our page whenever it's actually finished. So let's see. We do have an interview this time. I've actually thought ahead and scheduled one. And so our interview this episode is with Matt from Team Overland. It's a veterans organization, or an organization really designed to partner veterans with other veterans and civilians and try and just help reintegrate and reach out. It's a great program. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to that interview. Today on the podcast, I have Matthew from Team Overland. How are you doing today?
Good, Dan. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining me again, I should say, because the first time we actually got a chance to meet in person was at the Northwest Overland Rally. I think that was in Plain, Washington, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. We went up there. I think that was our first year attending, too.
Yeah, that was the Sweat Fest. It was breaking all kinds of records on temperature. Nobody wanted to sit in the classes. They wanted to go enjoy the river instead.
Yeah, that was a funny year because we went down to Arizona for the expo and got snow, and then we went up to Washington and got over 100-degree heat.
Yeah, somebody had it all backwards.
That's right.
Well, before we start talking about Team Overland, let's find out a little bit more about you and how it was that you came to get into off-roading.
Yeah, well, I was raised by an outdoorsman as a father, and we spent a lot of time on the trails, deer and elk hunting in Oregon and Southern Oregon. And he kind of raised us to be outdoorsmen, and we did a lot of camping. As I got older, I joined the Marine Corps and spent some time doing some pretty true overlanding in Afghanistan. And then when I got back to the States and I got out of the Marine Corps, I had a couple buddies sort of reintroduce me to it. And since then, it's just been one of those passions that I have that I pursue.
Awesome. Well, first off, thanks for your service
Yeah.
from one veteran to another. And I totally get what you mean. It's funny, like overlanding while deployed is really just kind of a fact of life sometimes, living out of the truck. And then
Yeah,
it's
it sure
funny
isn't.
how
And
we
you
come
have
to
to
miss
like,
it.
yeah, and you have to take everything you're going to have with you the whole time. And there was a couple of trips that we had to do in country that were just, you wouldn't think, but at the time, but they were a lot of fun looking back on them. And we took some Humvees, halfway across the country at one point, and took a couple days to do it, and driving through dried out riverbeds and all sorts of stuff. It was it was a good time.
Oh, yeah.
All things considered.
Yeah, so what years was it that you were there in Afghanistan?
I was there in 2008, and I deployed there with 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. We flew into Kandahar, and we were the 1st Marine Battalion back in Afghanistan since Iraq kicked off in 2003. So we were getting a lot of these new Humvees off of one of the Mews, and so we actually had to drive them out to the FOBs because nobody was really manning those outposts. So we kind of got to set up a lot of the first infrastructure in the Helmand province, which became more active as time went.
Right. And I remember that was a particularly difficult time to be in Afghanistan because the focus really was on Iraq at that point in history. That was kind of at the tail end of the surge when we really ramped up in Iraq and everything kind of turned down in Afghanistan for a little bit. So those that were
it was
there
kind of
were
funny.
having a hard time.
Yeah, exactly. We actually were slotted for an Iraq deployment, and we were supposed to help with the security of the pullout of, minimizing the troops over there and being sort of a security element to do that. And just a couple months before we deployed, they switched us to Afghanistan. And our first thought was, why are we going to Afghanistan? Nothing's going on there. And, and then we get there and we found out it was a totally different story. And then our time while we were there, we didn't get a lot of support from the higher command because they didn't know what kind of fight was sort of waiting for us there. So the whole deployment, we kind of were on our own, figuring it out with a real lack of resources. There were times where we ran out of ammo and everything. So
yeah, it's an uncomfortable place to be in.
Yeah, it was an interesting deployment. And then, as time went in Afghanistan, 2009, 2010 rolled around, it got a lot more media coverage. And then those troops, those Marines, got the support they needed. But it was cool to be in the early stages of that. Yeah,
I'm sure. So after that deployment, you came home, and how was it you kind of re-entered into civilian? Well, did you get out right after you got back, or was it just kind of a return to the new normal?
Well, actually, I got to do a second deployment to Okinawa. And so after Afghanistan, I went through Marine Raider School. And then we deployed to Okinawa, Japan. And after that, I came home, and then I got out of the Marine Corps in 2011.
Okay. So you came home from Okinawa, and you returned back to the Northwest?
Yeah, I came back to my hometown of Medford, Oregon. I had a job working with the city when I first got back, and then, it was a good job, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I went back to school, and I started getting involved in nonprofit work. I pursued psychology, and in college, and then I started volunteering with a disaster relief organization and did some deployments to some disasters, worked my way up the ranks, and wanted something back in Medford, Oregon, though. The one thing I noticed in my work is that, I would go and deploy to a disaster and help do some relief or some aid, and then I'd get back and then nobody that I met on disaster would be back in Medford, Oregon. We were all spread out. So there was that, there was missing that connectivity back home. There still was sort of a missing reintegration piece. And I think that led a lot to my getting Team Overland off the ground, because in Southern Oregon, we're sort of rural America. We're not a bigger city. We're a freeway town that most people just pass by. So bigger organizations don't tend to have opportunities to engage here, and in things like veterans and getting them outdoors and getting them hunting, fishing, and stuff. At least in 2000 or in 3-4 years ago when we started this, there certainly wasn't.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good transition. Is that how the genesis of how Team Overland was formed, filling that niche there of kind of veteran support?
Yeah, exactly. So, I was looking for a way to engage people here locally. I was looking for a way to re-engage myself, and there was this, I was getting into it, and it just seemed like the right. We didn't really know what we were going to do at first, but it seemed like the right thing to do. The way it came about, me and a couple buddies were talking about maybe doing one big trip. We were going to go like Alaska to Mexico or something, and we thought, well, we'd fundraise for this trip, and we thought it was super selfish. We decided it wasn't a good idea. So then we thought, well, what if we traveled from Alaska to Mexico and we met veterans along the way and told their stories and sort of documented it. And we thought that was a little bit better. But then it still didn't feel right. So, we kept talking about it, and we decided, well, what if we founded this organization in Medford, Oregon that would just engage people all the time, all year long, having trips year round. And not only that, but a support system on the back that if somebody comes out with us, we're going to, help them any way we can on the back end of that, and be there for them year round and not just some one trip or anything. And so, we thought it was a pretty good idea. We didn't really, we learned a lot of things the hard way early on, but we grew, and we kind of got, we got better at what we were doing. I think we're providing a better service, and each time we go out on a trip, we see, we see some pretty phenomenal healing going on from people that come join us early on to when they get into their second, third trip. And we've created this unique community here in Southern Oregon that, because we do more than just the campouts. We'll go build ramps for disabled veterans. We'll pull our resources together and help people that are in trouble. We've helped pay veterans rents. We've helped pay for people to get to Portland for medical bills, stuff like that. So we've created more than just an organization that goes camping. We've created this support system that the community can lean on with people that want to be involved. So it's been pretty cool to see, from where we came early on to where we are.
I really like that idea. So it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if the Marine Corps has the same thing, but, the Army has family readiness groups, the FRGs. And it's kind of an internal support group where, the unit kind of forms that tight-knit group and provides, a wide range of support. And so now it sounds to me like Team Overland is that family readiness group that is hyper-focused on off-roading as kind of the outlet for that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's pretty close to what we're doing. At the base of this is our outdoor adventure trips that we provide, and then we really focus on that back end support as well. We don't just say goodbye to them at the end of the trip. We welcome them into our family, our circle of friends, and we continue that support as much as we have capacity to do so.
Nice. So, what are some of the more recent kind of events that you guys have done?
So we just got done. We went up to the Northwest Overland Rally again this year. We did it a little bit differently than in years past. We went up there as team members to sort of promote and get the word out about our organization. This year, we decided to guide some guests with us and make it a trip that we facilitated. So we left Medford, Oregon on a Saturday before rally, and we went up to the Central Oregon area. We did some rafting with a rafting guide company. We went down the Mackenzie River. We had four veteran guests with us that we were taking on this adventure. The next day we did fishing on a jet boat was a really cool. This thing had like twin jets with. I mean, you could see 20 people on it. Had
Oh,
four
wow.
beer taps. Yeah, had 4 beer taps in the back. It was a really cool jet boat. Warfighter Outfitters was the outfit that took us out and got us fishing. Then we spent the next couple days on the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. We did a couple 100 miles off that. We did sections 1, 2, and 3, and we skipped a couple of the spots because we were running low on time. But we did end up getting up Bethel Ridge, and that was just an amazing cliff to kind of get up. And if you haven't been there, I definitely recommend it. That was a fun section. And then we ended at the Northwest Overland Rally, where we spent a couple days, just hanging out with everybody. We love that show. It just seems like a big family reunion when you get up there. And so we spent a couple days catching up with everybody, and then went as quickly back home as we could. So
Yeah.
that
That's
was
how
our
some
big
trips
trip.
are.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, as most people are aware, the West Coast kind of turns into a smoke bowl for a couple months. So we purposely didn't plan anything for July and August this year. The last 2 years we had trips in August or July, and both years we've had to cancel for forest fires. So this year we just took it off the calendar and decided, well, we'll take those, and nobody really wants to go sit around a fire in 90-degree weather.
Oh, yeah.
With forest fire smoke. So we take these 2 months to kind of do a little recon here and there, but then we ramp back up in September, and we'll get back after it.
Nice. So when you guys include some veterans on the trips, is this with them driving their own vehicles, or you put them in the co-driver seat, or how's that usually work?
It's been both. When we first started, we thought that we would primarily be putting people in our vehicles. We kind of thought that was going to be the model. And what it turned out to be is that I don't know that we're as unique as we thought we were. Most veterans like to go outside and go camping and have their own trucks. So we thought we'd be guiding a bunch of them in our truck. And that does happen. We get people that don't have gear and don't have trucks, and they get into our vehicles, and we provide the tent. We provide whatever they need. But we also have a lot of people that have their own gear. They want to go take their own truck, and so they just get in behind us, and we show them the way and make sure they've got the minimum required equipment, depending on the trail. But for the most part, it's most of the people end up having their own stuff. But I mean, we help out the ones that don't with whatever they need.
For sure. And that's funny.
Yeah.
You mentioned being an outdoorsman. I know just from personal experience and people that I meet, the hardest thing people have in getting to like hunting and fishing and stuff like that is access, knowing where to go. So being that resource sometimes is enough to get somebody inspired that, then maybe they can go do that on their own.
Yeah. And we get, and we have a lot of people that have, or not a lot, but a couple times people have come up and said that, it's very intimidating. And that might be like, sometimes people view going out with us as intimidating. And I tell them, it's not what we go and explore, any capable off-road truck can get in, and we're going to make sure that everybody is safe. We won't put anybody in a position that they're not comfortable in. And what happens most of the time is we get somebody out on a trip. They want to come out on a second, third, fourth trip. Most of the time we have, like last year, we put about 120 people around the campfire last year, and 40 or 45, something like that, were repeats.
Oh, wow.
So it's, they come out with us, they have a good time. We try to choose really good trails. We spend a lot of time on the trails in Southern Oregon, so we know some fun areas to explore. We have some camp spots that are pretty epic that we don't share with anybody unless they come out with us. Like, we don't post about them. We just, if you're on a trip, you get to see some of our favorite places.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's just, it's so much fun to do. And we take care of our guests. Whatever they need, we provide. We provide all the meals. We provide all the gear. If they need gear, we've got it. They don't have to worry about cooking dinner or anything. We do all the meals. We'll even fill up if they're taking their own truck. We'll even fill up the gas tanks if they need it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you guys have coming up here in the next couple months and weeks?
Well, the biggest move of the summer was we actually merged the nonprofits. So we started Team Overland about 3.5 years ago. Another nonprofit in Central Oregon was engaging veterans through hunting and fishing. They're called Warfighter Outfitters. They took us out on the fishing boat when we did our trip to Raleigh. We got to talking with them. Found out they were bringing 2 other nonprofits under their wings. One was up in Portland called Frontlines to Tightlines. They do they're catching dinosaurs and salmon in the Columbia River. The other one was Veteran Outdoor Adventures, who's running rubber rafts and fishing on out of Roseburg on the Rogue River or the Chetco and a couple others. So they were bringing them under their wing, covering them with their 501, and we got to talking about our organization and theirs, and we decided to join in with them too. So we've officially merged at this point. We're still doing business as Team Overland. We're just under the same 501 nonprofit as they are. And what it does is it pools resources together. So we have 1 board instead of 4. We have more active, and every member of those organizations came on and joined the board. So we have more board support. We've got more experience on the board. We're buying 1 insurance policy instead of 4. We're buying, all of our costs are essentially cut by a quarter, down to a quarter, just because we're pooled everything together. Yeah. We're also able to support each other. Like if I have somebody who wants to go fishing, Warfighters got the boats. They can support our trips. If they plan a trip where they need a bunch of camping stuff set up or sort of like a, base camp, we can support that. We refer veterans back and forth across programs. So it's just this really neat collaboration that's beginning, and we're just stoked to see where it goes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like we initially started talking about, there's a ton of overlap between, just the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, off-roading. There's so much overlap that seems like a really good fit. Makes sense.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we're all after the same thing. And a number of overlanding groups have popped up, a number of wheeling organizations. A lot of people are trying to reach veterans. A lot of people are using that platform to take care of trails and keep access open and stuff like that. And, it's all revolves around, we're wanting to do good. We're wanting to engage people. We're wanting to have, we're wanting to facilitate healthy relationships. We want, the community to really have buy-in of supporting other people. And we're doing that through platforms of adventure or fishing or hunting. It's all the same goal. I mean, our goal here is to help people, and doing it together. I mean, it's going to give us such a bigger impact. We're going to be more effective. It just made sense all the way around.
Yeah. So here I am. I'm just looking at the Warfighter Outfitters Facebook page, and I stumbled across, it looks like a 2-door Jeep Cherokee XJ on tracks.
Yeah. So that's one of those resources that they're going to let us use. I don't know if they know what we're going to do to it, but they said that we could take it out. They actually have 2 of them on tracks.
What?
Yeah. So we're going to be planning a winter trip. I'm thinking we usually take December off. Well, we do a Christmas tree run, but we usually take most of December off. We have a Christmas party, just team members, and, we're with our family. But I think around January, the snow should be really good here. We're going to do a little snow camp with some tracked XJs.
That is awesome. I guess the next step here is for me to figure out how far is it for me to drive from Southern California up to Medford.
It's not too bad. I think, you can do it in a day, but it's comfortable. It's more comfortable if you stop once.
Sure. And you're talking to somebody who just recently drove from the interior of Alaska through Montana, South Dakota, all over the place. So
yeah, there's a little bit of a difference for you between Alaska and Southern California.
Oh yeah, I don't know how we made this adjustment, but went from -50 in the winter to it's been in the 110 range here lately, and I'm just melting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys have a lot of really good things coming up. But since you're a nonprofit, how can somebody reach out and help contribute? If they're not in the immediate area to link up with you in Southern Oregon, how can they help?
Well, we've got a website, teamoverland.org. They can reach out to me by email, real easy, teamoverland@gmail.com. It does take us a little bit to respond to some email communications and social media sometimes. One thing as a nonprofit, we're actually 100% volunteer. Nobody takes a salary from the top down. We all have day jobs, and we do this in our spare in whatever time we have left. We try to run this organization. So sometimes we're not too quick at responding to people, but I do get back to everybody. But it's just teamoverland@gmail.com, and then our website has got a lot of information on it.
Right on. Well, I'll make sure to have links to all that here in the show notes.
Yeah, social media too. We've got an Instagram and a Facebook page like everybody else, so they can get a hold of us there too.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing all the things that you guys have coming up, and I'm glad that I can help spread the word about Team Overland and now the partnership with Warfighter Outfitters.
It's going to be pretty cool. We've also got 2 or 3 opportunities for people to join us this fall. We're doing an off-road truck show September 9th in Medford, Oregon at the Sportsman Warehouse. We're collecting gift cards to give to, we're actually supporting another program that helps women get out of traffic, women and families getting out of traffic situations. So they help relocate these women and children from their sex trafficker. And so what we're doing is collecting gift cards for chain restaurants so that they can get meals while they're in transport to their new location. We're doing that September 9th at Sportsman in Medford, Oregon. And then the last weekend of September, we're going to do a trip somewhere in the Cascades. Haven't got a date yet, but that'll all go out on our social media. And then our last big trip of the year, we go every Veterans Day we celebrate. So we'll be leaving Medford, Oregon, November 10th for a 2-night camp out. We're going to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday out there and then have Veterans Day and then come back. So 2 or 3 opportunities to engage with us this fall, and all that stuff is on our social media and will be up on our website.
Right on. Well, again, I'll have links to all that.
Cool.
So, Matt, thanks again for joining me on the podcast. I'm really glad this worked out, and I hope that everybody that hears this at least checks you guys out and follows you on the social media if they're not able to contribute or participate in any of the events.
Yeah, and, open invite for anybody listening to come out with us. We love to meet you, get you around the fire and have a good time. So
yeah.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Absolutely. And, I guess I should mention, too, that that partnership between veterans and civilians, somebody who has not experienced wearing muddy boots, is really important. I think that's not just for the veterans, but also for those have not experienced that, because it kind of gives a new perspective on how the world looks through a veteran's eyes.
Yeah, and that's important to say. I didn't mention that our trips are not just for veterans. When we started this, we thought about doing it that way, but what we really wanted to do was connect and reintegrate the veterans to their community. So we take out veterans, their family, and we take out kick-ass civilian supporters, and we do that on purpose. And we put people that didn't serve around the fire with people that did, and the bond that happens and the communication and everything that by the end of the trip is pretty phenomenal to watch. The kick-ass civilians, they don't know exactly what everybody's dealing with, but they want to help share the burden. They get a little bit of insight into what people that served are dealing with, and the veterans, they learn to trust those civilian supporters. And that's one of our goals there, is just strengthening the community through those bonds. And we've got a saying that the fire facilitates. We don't go around and try to make it happen. It just occurs naturally. It's pretty cool to see. It's my favorite part of each trip.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. So again, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be chatting with you again sometime in the future.
Sounds good, man. You take care.
All right. Bye. All right. Thanks, Matt, for joining me on the podcast. I really enjoyed that discussion, and hopefully sometime we'll be able to link up on the trail. And now we do have a couple pieces of news to talk about, but before we do, just want to remind you that we are a part of the 4x4 Radio Network. Head over to 4x4radio.com, and you'll find a playlist there with all the other shows on the 4x4 Radio Network. That is the Jeep Talk Show, that is the Center Steer Podcast, Trail Chasers, and On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. So be sure to check those all out at 4x4radio.com. All right, so for our first piece of news, we're going to talk about the up-and-coming 2019 Ford Ranger. So, Rich, we'll start off with you. What do we know about the Ford Ranger, and what do you think about it?
Well, I'm really excited about this truck. I know it's going to be coming with the diesel option only. It's a turbo diesel option only. And I'm sorry, but I'm on my laptop, so I don't have everything pulled up. I can't remember how many liters it is. But what Ford is claiming is that by going with this route, you're going to be getting the fuel efficiency that people want from a four-cylinder, but you're going to get the torque that people want with a V6. And that's why they decided that this engine and this engine alone is going to be the one that's offered. And one of the things that I'm happy to hear about too is, although I don't think it's going to have a rear locker, it is going to have basically, I think Ford's version, it sounds like Ford's version of crawl control. So I'm looking forward to see how well that performs in the dirt too.
Yeah. And so the thing is, like, the design of it, I think there were a lot of people really looking forward to what it looks like. However, it is exactly the same as the global version of the Ranger, which has been on sale for forever. So there was no real surprises there. And all of our listeners in Australia and that area of the world, they're going to kind of laugh at us because they've had them forever. And it seems like they're pretty popular. It's that 2-liter four-cylinder diesel engine, which not a ton of power, but it's plenty of torque and
right.
Definitely gets the job done for what it needs to.
And if my memory is serving me correct, I think I did remember seeing that it is going to have a rear locker only. So.
Yeah, yep, not a front. And so the little configurator is available now. So if you go cruise around the Ford website, I don't have a link for you, but if you just Google the Ford Ranger configurator, you can go build your own to your little heart's content and figure out what it is that you want. And so I went in ahead and did that and built it just the way I want it. It's got the FX4 off-road package, trailer towing package. Let's see. The 3.73 to 1 electronic locking rear axle. And that was zero additional money. That was just one of the standard things. So that's pretty nice. Let's see. Anyways, I priced it out just the way I wanted it, and I got it up to $36,695. So that's not too bad. Especially,
that's pretty comparable to a Tacoma TRD off-road. I believe that's right around that same price point.
But the Toyota TRD off-road does not come with the diesel engine.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it does have a V6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true. But see, now here's something that I've noticed that a lot of people don't realize, that the liters or miles per gallon is a lot different European to American. There's a different measuring system.
The way that they measure it is different.
The way they measure their fuel mileage is different because, what is it? A liter or a gallon is a different size than it is in America. And so we get the smaller gallon, they get the bigger gallon. So when, they say, oh, this gets, 40 miles to the gallon, but actually here it only gets 30.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that their testing is different. So it's hard. It's a mixed bag when you're talking the EPA numbers versus the dealer quoted numbers, not just because the dealerships all lie or the manufacturers all lie. which we know that to be true.
Oh yeah.
But it's just different. The European version of the EPA.
Well, you got to
Now,
remember,
do
on
they
every
report
truck.
miles per gallon, or do they do liters per gallon, or liters per mile?
It depends on which country you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to remember when an American or Ford, Chevy, and Dodge all do this. When you get a pickup truck and you're getting estimations for a 1,500 size pickup truck, you got to remember that's all two-wheel drive. They're saying this is the two-wheel drive version.
Yeah.
This is what you're getting miles per gallon. And then they use it for the four-wheel drive too. You know, they maybe drop it a gallon or two, but they estimate it all off the two-wheel drive vehicles. And I've noticed that, at least that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and I mean, this is getting down a pretty good side road, but fueleconomy.gov is a pretty good resource to see if you want to search like by make and model what they're getting. But there's another website, Fuely, I think is what it's called, Fuely, and that is a user-reported. So you could actually go in and look and find the vehicle that you're looking at and the make and model in the same configuration or close to it, and you'll see what everybody's reporting for their fuel economy.
Huh.
And you also got to measure how heavy your foot is.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. People do report their driving style.
That's good too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for the Ranger. I can't wait. Can't wait to see it when it comes out. Can't wait to drive it.
Yeah. So then for comparison, you know,
the
the other one, and I see one on my way home from work every day, is a Chevy Colorado with the crew cab, short box, ZR2 even. And so I thought, you know what, let me go ahead and build one of those just to compare how that would match up to the Ford Ranger. Now, just quick refresher, I built the Ford Ranger to $36,695. The Colorado that I built came out to $44,375. That's not an insignificant difference, and that's not even with the diesel engine option.
were your options fairly identical? Did you try to keep them as close together as possible?
Yeah, I tried to. This one's got the 3.42 axle ratio instead of the 3.73. Right. So that would really kind of impact the power, the seat of the pants power that you'd feel and the actual overall fuel economy. But when building this, I wasn't really building that.
Yeah.
We're living in a fantasy world here. Yeah.
I was building for fun.
We're spending Monopoly money here on this problem.
You know, and we didn't talk about this during pre-show, but since we're talking Chevy right now, something else I heard about Chevy that they're going to be doing coming soon is on your door sticker, they're going to tie in your tow rating with your VIN number. So the way your truck is configured, you're going to get the tow rating for your truck specifically.
Huh.
So your axle ratio, your drivetrain, everything that your truck is spec'd out to, it's going to individualize your tow rating. So it will be true to your truck.
So
I thought that was kind of a neat plan.
I imagine
until
others
you lift
are
it and
like
put
that.
Tires on it.
Yeah, I mean,
What's that?
That's a given. It's only accurate until you start modifying things.
Well, yeah,
until you lift it and put tires on it.
Yeah, but I imagine other vehicles are the same anyways, because
oh yeah,
man, there's a service, I can't remember what it is now, and somebody's probably screaming it at their stereo that you can put your VIN number in and it gives you exactly the vehicle that you're talking about. And it may be something as simple as Kelley Blue Book now that I think about it. It'll pull up all the options that were built from the factory.
What I'll be looking up after the show.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now and destroy the progress here on the show. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And of course, there's still the rumors out there of the Ranger version of the Raptor, or the Raptor version of the Ranger. Had it all backwards there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that. I know that video has been released from Australia. So the Raptor Ranger it's a real thing. I just don't know if it's going to be really awesome or more meh.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. What else we got to talk about? So I was looking at, here's something that's been out there for a while. I don't know that we've discussed it. Is the Mahindra Roxor. And so what this is Mahindra, it's a Indian company that's been making trucks for a long time of all shapes and sizes. And they have actually kind of owned some rights to building vehicles that look and smell exactly like the old Jeep CJs. And they've been building them for a long time. But Mahindra has really had an impossible time trying to get into the U.S. truck market. They've been trying for decades at this point, and it's just never worked. So what they've instead done is they're releasing the Roxor, which is not something that can be licensed in most states, we'll say, and it's more like a UTV. So it's powered by a 2.5-liter inline-4 turbo diesel engine, but unlike the Ranger version, the Ford Ranger with a similar size motor, this one in the Mahindra is making 62 horsepower. 62. That's 2 digits.
Nice. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's for a over 3,000 pound vehicle. So it's not super high powered, but think about it in terms of UTV numbers. That's still a lot less than
Now, is it
XP1000 or something.
Volkswagen Beetle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Now, I sent you pictures of some stuff of some UTVs I took. About 2013. Do they look anything like that? Because for some reason I didn't get the show notes; it didn't come up.
Oh yeah.
Are you talking about the Mahindra?
The Mahindra, yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks.
No, it looks
exactly,
like a Jeep CJ.
Yep, looks exactly like a CJ, except for the grill has five slots, and they're all kind of wide open, shaped differently. But think about this. This is a off-road private ranch type of vehicle. It's kind of tops out at 45 miles an hour. Not a ton of power. But it does have a 2-speed transfer case. And so here I'm looking at the offroad.com webpage, and they went ahead and did what I do and build out the vehicle just the way they want it. So they built it with a winch on there, and a light bar, a $650 sound system. That's a pretty hot sound system in my book. A bikini top. And they got it up to just over $18,000. Have you guys actually looked at the price of a lot of side-by-sides lately?
Oh, God. That's insane.
It's crazy money. Crazy money. So,
yeah, they can go all the way up to 20, 30 grand.
Yeah. And a lot of those, like the Polaris Razors and everything, they are well supported in the off-road market. And you can build... You can spend another 30 grand on top of that easily. So I don't know. I think if you live in a state like Montana or South Dakota or Utah where you actually can register these things and drive them around on the road, I think that's a pretty good option. I mean, it's modern powertrain in classic design. One of my favorite things ever. So I think
now, is it the classic design? Like the old wheelies or the CJ, 5s?
Yeah, it looks... I would like to see one of these right by... If you took a side profile of a CJ5 and this Roxor, I bet you wouldn't be able to tell the difference from the side profile.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's a dead ringer. Now, from the front end, that's a different story because the grill is a dead giveaway. But, I mean, it's a pretty good copy. So, I don't know. Is that something you guys are interested in or think's going to sell very well?
Not when you got Polaris out there.
I think of it as a novelty type item, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's certainly not going to sell like Jeep Wrangler numbers, but
No.
I don't know.
It'll
be
be a couple of people that have, they really like Jeeps, and it's one of the little kind of odd thing they get to take out to Pismo or
yeah.
take to the off-road shows, or build one up to have as their prop, in their booth. But as a seller, I've been to Pismo. I've seen most people, they love the Can-Ams, they love the Polarises, the side by sides. They're fun. They're dangerous too, but they're fun. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
straight up. I know some people. I've seen these things mushroom crunched after a crash because the driver was not paying attention to what he was doing, and he was going the wrong way too fast on the beach.
Yeah.
And he just endoed it over a dune and just crushed it.
Well, with the 65 horsepower and a 3,000-pound vehicle, I don't think you're going to be crushing it over the tops of dunes. But you'll look cool in the process, no matter how fast you're going. Promise you that.
Well, I'll tell you what, those UTVs, they really don't have that many horsepower. I don't think they're upward, 100 at the most.
Yeah, but
I know you can.
There's probably a big difference between a gas-powered engine turning over 100 horsepower and a little diesel engine pulling 65. It's just going to be a completely different driving experience.
Yeah, that's true. It could be more of just a putt-around golf cart.
Man,
a diesel golf cart.
I have a good time on a golf course with one of these.
It'll be a diesel golf cart. That's what.
Oh, well, I think that's it for the news. We'll go and talk some other stuff. One of the other segments that we like to cover is your off-road aptitude. And we may be revisiting this one. I should have done a search on our other show notes. But I've been using a lot of US Topo Maps Pro. And I know there's some other folks that listen to the podcast that absolutely love this app. And this is not going to give you turn-by-turn navigation. But you can pull maps from so many different sources. Everything from topo, aerial view, sea charts, flight maps, even if it's USGS maps or like OpenStreetMaps or Bing maps, whatever. The NOAA nautical maps. These things are just amazing. And it includes everything from route planning. You can drop pens and link it all together as a route, or record your track, or just all kinds of stuff. And then you can actually export and share those routes too. So that becomes a really great tool. It gives you a lot of dead reckoning navigation, which turns out is pretty good for where I'm at in the desert. So that's something I use often. I'll put my phone into the RAM mount so that it doesn't go bouncing down the side of the trail as I'm driving. The RAM mounts hold it in there pretty good. So, and I think this one is actually for Android only. So I'll have a link to that in the show notes. US Topo Maps Pro. There is a
I
free
just pulled
version.
it up. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Currently, it's listed at $12.99 in the Play Store.
Yeah. Well, that's an app I use every day. So that was $12.99 well spent for me.
No, it doesn't charge for downloads or anything like that, like to get a different map layer or anything. The $12.99 gets you everything, right?
Oh, yeah. That is everything.
Okay.
And in terms of apps and how they're rated, 4.4 stars with... I should go do my rating right now. They're at 999 app reviews or ratings. So I'll add number 1,000 here tonight because I love this app. It's one of my favorites. So Just my recommendation, if you're looking for a good map for off-road navigation, and if you don't already have one that you love and use often, US Topo Maps Pro for Android. That's my recommendation. Let's see. Another segment that we haven't touched in for quite some time is Off-Roading 101. And speaking of trailering rigs like the Roxor to the trail, this one is from fourwheeler.com on tips and tricks to make your trailer great again. So, it's been a while since I have trailered a rig, but I know that there are lots of people that do because I see them out there all the time. Have you guys trailered your rigs before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I had to tow mine back from the Rubicon when I broke the rear end.
Yeah, but that's not a normal situation. I have noticed though that I used to see a lot of trailer queens going out to the different off-road parks back when I was living in the more eastern side of the United States. But since then, I've seen very few Jeeps getting trailered. But this is a pretty good article, and I'll leave it up here on our show notes for episode 132. So just go to the 4x4podcast.com/132 for the show notes for all these links that we're talking about, and probably some pictures too. So here is a quick rundown on the things that they recommend to have to make your trailer awesome. And one of them being a solid tongue box for storage. In this picture, they're using like a contractor's toolbox, really heavy duty thing, as a place to store all your tie down straps, chains, wheel bearings, parts, all kinds of stuff. Great idea. I've got a tongue box like that on my trailer that I built, and I use it all the time for a wide range of things.
My buddy, we put one on his trailer, and we actually cut it out, and his winch is inside that box.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was actually the next thing I was going to mention here is a winch, because the reason people trailer their rigs to the trail is because they want to have the peace of mind that when it's broken, they can get it home. Problem is, I don't know if you've ever tried to load a broken down vehicle onto a trailer. Without a winch, that's really a challenge. So
it's a royal pain in the butt.
Yeah, it really is. So having that winch on there make life a lot easier. And of course, some solid tie downs. That's something that you absolutely have to have. That or your vehicle and the trailer that's holding it may become separated, and that's really bad. I mean, the worst thing you want to see is if the tow vehicle gets into a collision, to see the load from the trailer break free. So don't go cheap on your tie downs. It's something.
Oh yeah, they're actually new tie. Why I was at the show this weekend, there was a company that was actually showing their new tie downs and their new improved tie downs, which were really cool.
Yeah.
And actually now a new way of strapping your vehicle down, instead of strapping to the frame or the axle, it actually wants you to, they're showing straps that actually just go right around the tire.
Yeah.
And then tie down so you don't scratch your paint.
Yeah, so that's a really smart way of doing it, because if you're strapping down to the frame, if you hit a good solid bump, the suspension on the vehicle is going to compress, and those straps or chains or whatever are going to come loosen up. And even if you're using a closed mounting system with binders, when your suspension loads back up after that compression, you're liable to cause some damage. And you're talking, hours and hours of bouncing around like that. You never know what it's going to do. And the alternative, like the way I did it, was strapping down at the axle. Well, I had to be careful to make sure the straps weren't going around brake lines or anything like that. And so if you're going straight to the wheels, you don't have to worry about that. Unless your tires go flat while sitting on the trailer, your vehicle's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So Another thing that I didn't have when I had my trailer to haul the Jeep was ramps. When I bought it, this was more than a decade ago. Didn't have the funds to go ahead and get some nice ramps, so I skipped on them and just drove the Jeep right up onto the trailer. But there's some really good ramps. The ones that I like to see are the ones that have the supports under the ramp, so that when you're driving onto the trailer, it doesn't just compress the back end of the trailer. You've got that support under there.
And lift up the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Your tow vehicle, because I've seen it. I've seen it when I've been at a couple of 4x4 events. The guys don't even bother with the ramps. They just drive up to the back. Yep. And it's a 4-wheel drive. It's going to crawl up on the trailer. The guy starts crawling up on the trailer, and well, it lifted the back tires of his pickup truck off the ground. Well, think about this, people. Your emergency brake is on your rear tire. So what did it do? It just pushed the whole rig forward, trailer and all. Truck.
I didn't even think about that.
This was a 3500 Ford long bed 4-door, and this little Toyota rock crawler was pushing it.
Yeah, at that point it's just mechanics and leverage.
Yeah, and it was just, it lifted the back end and it just started pushing the truck.
Yikes.
And it was just like, okay.
Well, on a positive note, he knows his hitch is secure.
Yeah.
That hitch ain't letting go.
Very true. Very true. But the suggestion is, if you're going to do that, make sure somebody's in the truck that is towing the trailer and stepping on the brakes, or have something under the back of the trailer that won't let the back of the trailer compress to the ground, where it lifts the front of the truck or the back of the truck up.
Yeah, and I've seen two different ways of doing that. One is the ramps with support underneath it, and the other is some jack stands that attach to the back of the trailer, just so that it keeps it from compressing like that. So another good idea. Or just
regular jack stands.
Yeah, even just anything to keep it from compressing.
Yeah. Rock, tree.
Yeah. I'm not going to haul a rock around, though.
Well, no, you're four-wheeling. You'll find a rock out there. Use that.
Yeah. Okay, another thing here on the list that it mentions is some drive-over fenders. That was one of the things that I didn't need when I had my trailer. But, for a lot of these rock crawlers that are really wide, or rock bouncers, I should say, having some drive-over fenders would make it pretty nice to get up on there and get the rig positioned. Let's see, some other ideas. A place to put some 5-gallon gas cans, whether you're running race gas or whatever. Make sure you have spare tires for your trailer as well. Let's see. Good lights. Like I said, loading a broken down vehicle is enough of a challenge as it is. Doing it in the dark, that can be made a lot easier if you just get some LED lights or something to strap on there or bolt on. There's got some other really cool ideas. Have you guys seen these transfer tanks, mounted in the back of pickup trucks, where you can actually fill that up and expand the gas capacity? That's probably really popular there in Kansas, farm trucks. Having something like that on a trailer for your rig would be pretty nice too. And that's something that could work just as well for motorcycles or side-by-sides or ATVs. That's a pretty good idea.
I don't know how legal that is, though.
Transfer takes? They're on every farm truck out here.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Yeah, but it's in the truck. On the trailer, it's different. And you also got to remember, size-wise, you can't have more than 1,001 pounds of fuel that is not connected directly into the fuel system, because if you don't, and you don't have hazardous placards on your vehicle, major ticket.
Hadn't thought about that, but that's good to know.
All right, so after everybody's done checking their automotive and medical policies, go ahead and check your state laws as far as fuel transfer.
Well, no, that's DOT across the United States. I know that for a fact, as being a truck driver. I know That's part of my hazmat training.
Well, there you go. You earned your paycheck today then, Craig. Let's see. What else we have here on the list? So speaking of those show cars, this picture here on the article, somebody had taken a spoiler off one of those old dirt track cars and mounted it to the front of the trailer as a stone guard or a rock guard, something to keep debris from going up and destroying whatever it is you're towing. That's a pretty smart idea, actually. And if nothing else, it'll divert some air around and give you maybe half a mile per gallon better, which when you're towing a vehicle, you know, your fuel economy goes to crap anyway. So anything that could help would be a pretty good idea.
You got all the extra fuel in your transfer tank. Who cares?
Oh, man. Well, I think that's probably about all we have time for today. I was just looking at the time here. This is going to be a pretty long show. So that is it.
Wait.
Did I forget something else?
One more thing. No. Yeah. I want to invite people out to the Sandsport Expo show on September 4th. It's 14th, 15th, and 16th. Letting people know that me, myself, and Dan,
that's me,
are going to meet up for the very first time on September 15th at the Sandsport Expo. We invite listeners to come out and try to find us.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So as long as nothing goes horribly awry between now and then, we'll be able to link up there. So that's it. Did I forget anything else?
Craig, you cut out on me. What were those dates again?
The Sandsport Expo will be the 14th, 15th, and 16th of September. This coming up September of 2018.
It's going to be awesome.
Right. Sounds like a lot of fun.
So me and Dan are actually going to meet face-to-face for the very first time. And I want to welcome any listeners to come out and find us. We're going to probably do something there from the show. I'm excited. I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to be.
And for sure, I'm going to have some stickers with me to hand out. So
yes. And then also I will be attempting to go to the Off-Road Expo 2 weeks later in that's Pomona.
That one's
the Sandsport Expo. Yes, the Sandsport show is in Costa Mesa, California.
Well, and if anybody does want to, if they're going to be at the show and want to link up with us, be sure to send us an email to the 4x4 podcast at yahoo.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We are at the 4x4 podcast in all of those locations. And we do still have our voicemail line. I need to go in and check it. We'll probably have a pile of voicemails. You can call us at 719-924-5337. And we've kind of gone stagnant. We haven't got any new reviews in iTunes for a while. So if you've enjoyed this show or any of the other past shows, be sure to go into iTunes and leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you think about the show and how we can continue to improve it. But for now, it's time to hit the trails. So God bless, tread lightly, and stay safe while exploring your world.
I've been itching to say this. I'm going to SEMA.
Nice.
Are you? Awesome.
Did they let you in?
No.
Oh.
No.
They did not. But here's the funny part.
He's got a buddy with a truck.